shit. No, no, no. Hold up, folks. Okay. Now we are live. The the programs you use to stream yourself on camera and with your voice, they don't work too good if the program's already open and you start playing with things like microphones and cameras. Just a little tip if you are looking to start your own stream of something one day. But thanks for joining. Thanks for joining us today. This is Chris of UPNLOADED.com, Laser Lemming, Chris versus the world, and now Chris to Chris. Wow, that is a lot of branding. Gotta simplify that. Also, I guess we need some viewers. Looking for viewers because this is a Friday show. Actually, it's a lot earlier than any show I normally do. Normally, I'm streaming at about, I don't know, midnight o'clock, 9 p.m., 10 p.m., 11 p.m. Usually pretty late. Doing this early. Got the day off. So, happy to have y'all. Well, all 0 of you as of now. Definitely looking to get some viewers. So if you're looking to actually watch the show, it'd probably be a lot more entertaining. Just a thought to consider. Currently at 0 viewers, but I'm looking to have 100% more than that. And we've just reached that goal. Welcome first viewer, Naki. Naki, hey! Let me get my type on here. Hey! Happy to have you. Happy to have you. And anybody else we might get today. Not a lot of news has happened today as far as I can tell. I mean, we're going to talk about some Assassin's Creed and some Star Wars. And of course, this brand new podcast we got going on. Pretty excited to talk about that because it's officially launched today. Did a lot of teasing. And I can't promise it was worth the wait. But I hope it was. I hope it's something that you guys enjoy. This first episode, put a lot of work into it. And I'm my biggest critic. So there's a lot of things I'm going to improve over time, especially by episode 2. But you can now download and listen to the very first episode of our podcast, Chris to Chris. Welcome all 3 viewers we've got right now. That is going to triple, I think, soon. And then I'm shooting for 500,000 viewers in this first stream today. So let's try to get to that 500,000. Hey, Naki coming out swinging hard with the hard first questions. Asking, Chris, does God exist? Wow. Let's definitely tackle that while we're playing a game, I guess. Yeah, we'll get into that. Does God exist? And of course, we'll also talk about Assassin's Creed Odyssey and Star Wars in my podcast. Everything seems kind of small in comparison to that question. Does God exist? You know, on the internet, especially on YouTube too, it's easy to get jaded and have a strong opinion. Hey, Rick. Rick says Jesus died for us to have Christmas. Well, if you want to get picky, I guess Jesus was born for us to have Christmas. Yeah, wow. It's gonna be a fun show. Yeah, I'm glad you guys could join us. Got a new podcast launching today called Chris to Chris. It's been submitted for the approval of the Midnight Society to iTunes and Google Play. I'm going to try to get it on some other podcast apps as well. But right now, if you want to listen to it, you can head on over to UPNLOADED.com. Should be on the front page right there. Chris to Chris, episode 1, Bad Pilots is the name of that episode. And yeah, I think it's a good time. Again, it's something that's going to improve over time, especially by episode 2. But I have a good feeling about it, man. Rick says, "Ah, yes, I haven't been keeping up with my Bible studies." Well, here you go. I guess we'll make this the we'll make this episode the video game, movie, podcast, news / Bible study. Every time I open this game, there's something different going on here. We got a little story happening here. This kind of reminds me of Team Fortress 2. Rick says, do I have to change my name to Chris to be able to listen to it? No, you do not need to change your name to Chris, but it helps. It definitely doesn't hurt. It will definitely make you feel included. This guy just throwing popcorn at his face like there's no better way. Naki says, we can also talk about the new Windows update, which is really buggy, and it also deletes files for some users. Oh, that's good. I didn't have enough to worry about today. Awesome. Hadn't heard about that. What kind of files is it deleting? Season 6 Battle Pass. That's like a donkey face right here, right? Oh, it's changing things here. I'm not, I don't know why I'm reading this. I'm not going to buy it. History says I'm not paying for this. Epic doesn't hire voice actors for their trailers, apparently. I guess not, huh? They just hired somebody to munch on some popcorn. Because I think even the Team Fortress, they do, I don't know if they still do, but they used to do these short videos, kind of like that, but a little bit longer, and I think they had voice acting. At least some of the characters. I don't think the spy spoke. Actually, he might have. He had a French accent, didn't he? Yeah, I think they all spoke. Look at that. Nice purchase button here. Easy for me to hit. DJ Yonder. DJ Yonder looks a lot like a donkey, doesn't he? I think he's supposed to, I suppose. No, I'm not buying this. Look at that. They just like immediately throw you into the battle pass section because they want that moolah, that cash, that money. Oh look, I'm always playing the same two characters. I'm either this Asian guy or the woman with the black hair. It seems to be the consensus. Are these just the free people? Naki says folders, music, documents, pictures, etc. That's what Windows is deleting? That's great. That's good. Definitely didn't have enough things to worry about in regards to Windows and the computer. You know, my life is just kind of like computers are just kind of woven into every fabric of my life. It's kind of frustrating. Here I am. I'm in front of a computer right now. Actually, I'm beside a computer. I'm in front of a monitor, a microphone, but it's all tied to a computer. Your phone is a computer. Computers have become like this integral part of society. But it's gotten to this point where, you know, that everybody wants everything to be connected to the internet. Anybody, like consumers want everything connected to the internet, and manufacturers want everything connected to the internet. So if you think about it, if somebody really wanted to take out a futuristic society, all they would need is like some kind of EMP, something you'd see in like a Call of Duty game. And I'm not advocating for that, by the way. I don't think that's a good idea. I think it would be very destructive and terrible. But that's something I don't know how you avoid in the future. How do you avoid an EMP attack that could just wipe out everything? I don't know. Sounds dangerous. Rick says, you don't want to play as an Asian? Is that what you're suggesting, Chris? No, I don't mind playing as the Asian guy. I'm just looking for a little variety. I could play as a different Asian guy. This guy's always, he's always doing the same thing. But I guess that's why they want you to fork out more money for their battle pass. What is this, like a racetrack? That's cool. It'd be really cool if you could race around in a car. You probably can't do that. Or maybe you can. This game's always surprising me. Naki says, Windows 10 has caused a lot of problems for me, but this is very huge. Dang, Naki. Well, I haven't heard this. Is this something that just happened today? Granted, I've been on a bit of a vacation over the last week, so I'm not as up to date with some of the headlines as I normally am. So maybe this is on me for not being aware of this catastrophic Windows update. Oh, man, that house was disappointing, wasn't it? That house was essentially just a garage. there any weapons that haven't been rated? All I'm getting is I'm not doing too well here. Let's do this. Do it. Do it. Do it. Do it. Okay, this is not a good start. Not a good start. So let's talk Assassin's Creed for a minute, huh? Assassin's Creed Odyssey just came out, and people are kind of divided on it. I own, I think, 3 or 4 Assassin's Creed games. Got them all for cheap, and I've probably played maybe a couple hours worth combined. The series just doesn't do it for me like I initially wanted it to. And I was kind of interested in the new direction they were going with Assassin's Creed Origins, but as I saw more and more, I could just see the possible exploitations that would come about from a company like Ubisoft. And they are definitely exploiting people. Have you been following the stories on Assassin's Creed Odyssey being like a grind fest? Pretty much the same complaint I have with most AAA games these days. It's expensive. They're charging you $60 for the base game, and they're jamming it packed full of free-to-play mechanics, like stuff like virtual currencies, loot boxes, etc. In Assassin's Creed Odyssey, when you in the start menu or whatever menu it is, it's one of the menus. There's a tab called something like Time Savers. Time Savers. They're just being explicit about it right now. They're not even like being subtle or weird. They're just saying Time Savers. This is our way of offering you the opportunity of paying more money to not play the game. They make the game a drag as slow as possible so that you will be incentivized to pay more money for XP boosters, essentially. What has gaming become? We're paying for XP boosts, and that started last generation with like Mountain Dew or Doritos bags that you could get, and it would come with a code for like a couple hours worth of XP boosts. And you buy more chips, you buy more drinks, you get more XP boosters. And now you could just buy it directly in the game. No marketing tie-in necessary. And so Assassin's Creed Odyssey has a tab called Time Savers. You could just fork your money to us directly, and we can make the game play a little bit more like it was a fun game, instead of having these level caps to move on to different missions in the game. That's what they're doing. That's their way of forcing you back. You can either spend your time doing hours upon hours of side missions to level up to the appropriate level to start the actual story mission, or you could just buy a permanent XP booster, which is a possibility in this game. I guess I think it's like $10 or so, and you can pay for a stat boost. Essentially, you're paying money to Ubisoft for them to make the game progress like a normal video game would or should. That's Assassin's Creed Odyssey, I guess. Rick says, I got called out by Ubisoft fans for critiquing it. Man, see, that's a problem. What's the word? Stockholm Syndrome. People are identifying with the group that's oppressing them. And you know what they do that? They do it because they like the property and they spent money on it. And they spent at least $60 on it. But a lot of people who defend it hardcore are the ones that spent $80, $90, $100 on whatever special edition that they bought. Naki says, I'm drinking Mountain Dew right now. I hope you saved your XP booster code. Rick says, people buy $60 to buy extra things to not play the games nowadays. That's right. That's exactly what they want. They've designed the game to be such a drag that you don't want to keep playing it. You don't want to keep playing it. You want to play the story mission. That's what they want. They want to hook you hard enough to want to play the story mission, but they want to make it a pain in the ass to actually get through unless you're paying them money. So go ahead and fork out money for that permanent XP boost, or even better, buy a temporary XP boost and just keep paying money for it. It's like when you go to a movie rental store and just keep renting the same movie over and over. Mortal Kombat X or 10 Mortal Kombat 10 had an option to buy 30 easy fatalities. So, at the end of Mortal Kombat game, when you punch out that long code to do the super cool fatality, you could pay like $5 for like a 1-button combo to activate a fatality. And you could do it 30 times. 30. And so, once you run out of those 30 fatalities, you got to pay them an extra $5 if you want to keep rocking those easy fatalities. I knew a guy who bought the easy fatalities thinking, you know what? I don't care. It's fine. If I just need to spend $5, if that's what makes the game easier for me, I'm willing to do it. And then he was pissed when he found out that it only worked 30 times. Naki says, these practices make my soul depressed. Yeah. Too many people are okay with it. Rick says, I thought that fatalities thing was ridiculous. It is. You're right. Completely ridiculous. But as long as there's somebody willing to spend money on it, they're going to do it. It doesn't even need to be a majority of people doing it. They don't need 60% of people, 70% of people buying these anything, any kind of microtransactions. They don't need 60 or 70%. They just need maybe 10% of people. And amongst those 10%, maybe 5% of them will be whales that will just spend tons of money. They'll just be they'll have their credit card tied to their phone or their console, and they'll just be pumping that money in just to try to hit those endorphins, just to try to have a better time with the game. And as long as those people exist, games will consistently be designed to be less fun. They will always cater to the whale versus the mass audience, because the mass audience is going to buy the game anyway. That's what they assume. They're going to buy the $60 game. They've already got your money. Now that they've got your money, they're going to focus on the people that they really care about, which is the people that bought the $60 game, the people that bought the $150 version of the game, and then they're buying the virtual currencies and the loot boxes, etc., etc. So it's pretty lame. And that's why I've kind of gotten to the point where I'm like, you know what, I don't know what else we can do except fight this with the law. I don't like the idea of the government being involved in game regulation, but it's clear that the games industry cannot regulate itself, not effectively. We need some kind of board of people that actually represents the people and is not represented by the people that are supposed to be in check. That's my completely unbiased opinion on the matter. Naki says, I will stick to buying used games then. Yeah, I mean, when you buy it used, you're sticking it to them on the cost of the game. And I'm sure you're the person that's not buying the microtransactions in the first place. So in that case, the developer gets nothing. And when it's a developer being greedy, like what Ubisoft is doing, or EA, or Activision, or Warner Brothers does, when they're doing stuff like that, I don't even care. Like, it's not like I have no gripe against it, because the publishers are not acting in good faith anymore. They're clearly not for the player in that case. And I get it. Everything's a business, but the business has been twisted and it's been corrupted to the point where it's just gross. It's just gross what they're doing. Just completely disgusting. Despicable, even. But that's where we're at. And, you had, what is it, Take-Two? NBA 2K19 publishers? They said they're begging Belgians to ask their government for loot boxes back. They asked their government to let Take-Two exploit them again. It's just lame. Just so lame what we've become, what the industry has become. And that's why I end up playing a lot of indie games, because they're not beholden to this kind of practice. And what's weird is that Sony is a big company, but for the most part, it seems like they've stayed out of this realm, which is a little bit surprising for me. I mean, I was really turned off by the multiplayer in The Last of Us. I love the single-player campaign story in The Last of Us, but I was turned off when I was playing the multiplayer because it was full of just, like, from what I remember at least, it just had a lot of crap I didn't like. A lot of this, asking me for more money. and I it just was a huge turnoff. Same thing with the Max Payne 3 multiplayer. But Sony, for the most part, like a lot of the games they publish are single player focused, which was a direction Microsoft was not about 3 years ago. They're changing their tune, but a little bit. But Sony, for the most part, is still making single player games, and they're not exploiting the hell out of them like what Square Enix might do, for example. They're making a single player campaign. Let's take Spider-Man, for example, or God of War. And there is no virtual currency that you don't earn exclusively in game. There's no way to pay more money to move on faster. So because of that, the game is designed properly at a proper pace where it's not meant to just slow you down until you're forking over more money. So I appreciate that about Sony. And Nintendo's been pretty good about that for the most part too, but they've been pressured to move more into the mobile arena, and the mobile arena is all about that free-to-play mechanics with loot boxes and virtual currencies, and they've been doing that in games like their mobile Fire Emblem and Animal Crossing. So that kind of thing does worry me. And Sony worries me too. Just because Sony's not doing it right now doesn't mean they don't have business people in their ear telling them all the time that that's what they should be doing. So I'm excited about The Last of Us Part 2, but hesitantly. I'm not completely on board yet. Let's see. Naki says, and Spider-Man and God of War sold extremely well. That's right. They did sell extremely well. But that's not enough, apparently, for companies like EA, Activision, Warner Brothers, Ubisoft. It's not enough to sell several million copies of your game anymore, because these companies are beholden to their shareholders, and the shareholders are all about quarterly profits, and that affects the cost of their stock. So they want the highest possible price for their stock so that they can get the biggest bonuses, be rich. And what that means is microtransactions, loot boxes, blah, 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 blah. It's not enough to have that $60. It's not enough to have a season pass on top of that. It's not enough to sell a bunch of special editions of the game at $150. That's not enough. You also need to just constantly be getting a ton of money via microtransactions and virtual currencies. So that's what they care about. They just need these extreme profits to validate themselves. And if they don't have it, their stock price drops. So they're scared of that. They've opened Pandora's box and they can't close it. So what needs to happen is it needs to be closed for them. Stock prices are going to have to drop. They're going to have to not maybe give their CEOs and other corporate employees giant-ass bonuses all the time. Maybe they can focus more on the people that are actually making the games. Maybe those people can unionize. And I don't know. I know developers are not guilt-free on this either. Developers get bonuses sometimes too. And to their credit, they are often working crazy hours. But that's the fault of the games industry. Now games are just rushed out often, I should say. They're not always rushed out, but they're often rushed out before they're even ready, and you get a patch on day one to try to fix some of the problems that they knew existed. Back in the day, games used to be delayed a lot more than they are now. They would get delayed, and they would be delayed until they were ready, usually. Nintendo games were always delayed until they were ready, and most other companies tried to do the same. Sometimes a game would just, out of nowhere, get a huge delay, and you'd have to read about it in a magazine. So things weren't always perfect, but because of that, there was more accountability for the game. There was no patch. The only way you could patch a game was to re-release it with an updated code. Metroid Prime on GameCube, some European copies of it didn't load properly. It would freeze on an elevator scene, or it just had endless loading. And so people had to get new copies of that game. The GameCube could not patch games. Hell, even the Wii couldn't properly patch a game either. But yeah. Now you can patch a game and just kind of forget about it. So sorry, I missed some chats here on my rants here. Naki says, what does EA do with the extra money exactly? They pocket it. I don't know. I mean, they use some of it to figure out how they can exploit more people. EA is just as slimy as people think they are. They had a quote from somebody at EA recently, a few months back, saying... It was regarding the, I think, Star Wars game that got canceled, and they pretty much said, FIFA makes us $1 billion every year. What is this going to get us? And because that Star Wars game was going to be a Star Wars Uncharted type game developed by Amy Hennig and team, and it was going to just be a single player story, much like Uncharted. Nope, they don't like that. That's why it's been canceled and being restructured into a games as a service type game. Who cares? Who cares at that point? Now, EA cares. That's what they want. Yeah, they'll buy expensive food and enjoy the best life. Bonuses. They get bonuses. Big-ass bonuses. Rick says, buy new yachts more than likely. Yeah. Yeah. I gotta imagine there's some corporate people at EA with a yacht or two. Look at this lizard on the back of this dancing chick's back. I guess that's what you get with a battle pass. It's free advertising. Naki says, money is just paper with value. It's so stupid. Man, it's a great question of life, right? Just the value of money or the value of anything. Time equals money, money equals time. I value my time probably more than any other thing. Oh my gosh, they just want me to have friends. Yeah, that's what's going on with Assassin's Creed. Oh, did I mention I got this podcast? I think I mentioned it. Chris to Chris launched today. Should be available on iTunes and Google Play shortly. It's been submitted to them today. But in the meantime, you can listen to it directly at upandloaded.com, or you can download it from upandloaded.com. You can download it to your phone or your computer or whatever, and just listen to it there. I'd like to know what you guys think. I'd like to have some comments, some impressions, some criticisms. I've got my own criticisms for the show already, but I'm aware of a lot of things, but I'd like to hear your thoughts too. But overall, I think it's a good show. But just like any first episode, I called it Bad Pilots for a reason. You ever watch you know what? I'm not going to... this is not selling my show very well. It's really good, guys. It's really funny. Rick says, will it be on SoundCloud? A good question. Possibly. I'm thinking about putting it on SoundCloud. A lot of places charge. Hey, cool man, what's up? A lot of places charge for the luxury of putting your podcast on their service, and SoundCloud might be one of them. I can't remember. I'm going to go on this floating island here. How do I do that? Excuse me. Yeah, and it's crazy to me. When I was thinking about this, that all these places are charging you for the luxury of putting your show on their service when your show is content. That's why they have a successful service in the first place, is because of content providers. So I'm going to have to look into this more. It's just crazy to me that these places would charge you money to have your show. And they're not even hosting the show all the time. They're just kind of putting the show on their service. So we'll see. We will see. All right, so I got a weak shotgun here. This is what was on this island? What? I thought this was going to be something special. I thought there was going to be something here. Maybe I should just try to mine the purple ore. Nope, can't get it. Nothing's happening here. This has been a great disappointment. Great disappointment. Rick says, I made a podcast on there a while back. It was free. I don't know. I don't know if it's still free. Well, I guess it just depends on what you're trying to do. Hey, what's up? Matt Ducks lost. Yep. Yeah, he did. Alright, so I'm probably going to die here. Very good chance. I mean, shooting a shotgun from the top of a roof is always a good strategy. Yeah, Maddox lost. Oh my gosh. Clearly I'm... How do I... Okay. Alright. Yeah, Halloween is coming up. Can I? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I thought I could just launch the parachute. Suppose not. How do I get off this thing? You know, I got on here, big plans of grandeur. Maybe I should just learn how to use my parachute. Maybe it'll automatically deploy. That's always a good strategy, to just jump and hope for the best. Hey, it worked. How do you pronounce that? Nixhex. Nixhex. Make a Patreon and aim to beat $156 a month, and you've made it, old friend. Thank you, sir. Yeah, I'm thinking about doing a Patreon. All I need is a lot of listeners, or at least $156 worth of listeners. What you guys think of that? Would you be down to totally pledge several dollars a month towards a podcast you have yet to listen to? Like I said, it'll be available on iTunes, hopefully. I don't know how long their process is, and I was smart enough to do it on a Friday. So I don't know if it'll be on iTunes by the end of the day or tomorrow, but maybe Monday. In the meantime, of course, it's on UPNLOADED.com. So we'll see. We'll see. Yeah. Cool Man says, the new Super Smash Brothers game makes me want to buy a Switch. Yeah, it should. Looks really fun. Smash Brothers Ultimate. Man, there's going to be like over 100 levels in that game. Just levels alone, and over 80 characters. All of them are going to be there. What character would you guys like to see in a Smash Brothers game? I feel like with it being called Ultimate, it's going to be the last one. Oh, yeah, we talked about that, Rick, in the last stream, I think. Red Dead Redemption 2, 105 gigabyte requirement, at least on the PlayStation 4. That's what it says on the PS4 box bundle. 105 gigabytes of your system. It's like when the PS3 launched, and you could get it in a 20 gigabyte or 60 gigabyte variety. That was the launch system space, and before you knew it, by the end of the generation, a 20 gigabyte hard drive definitely wasn't going to work for you, and a 60 gigabyte was struggling. Same thing's happening with the PS4 and the half terabytes, the 512 gigabyte systems. I have to delete multiple games every time I download something new. So yeah, Red Dead Redemption 2 only needs 105 gigabytes. What am I doing in this game? You guys are just kind of letting me just say whatever the hell I want and ramble on, but I have no idea where I'm going. Oh, look at that. I could fly. I guess it's not on you to totally tell me what I should be doing in the game, but if I die, I do blame you. I just want to get that out of the way. I do fault you for that. Alright, finally have some weapons. There we go. Great suggestion there. 007 for Smash Ultimate. That's good because that was a GoldenEye. GoldenEye was a huge game on the N64. Actually, I remember playing it with you, boo. We spent so many hours playing that game. We spent days worth probably just playing split screen GoldenEye. And then you go back to GoldenEye, try playing split screen, you want to throw up. We are spoiled these days with better frame rates. Like we look at 30 frame rates kind of like snobby, like ugh, first person shooter that's only 30 frames per second. Man, GoldenEye, Perfect Dark, especially Perfect Dark, those games would run at maybe 15 frames per second sometimes, maybe even lower sometimes. Yeah, it was not the golden age of 3D gaming. But man, if they could get James Bond, get some Pierce Brosnan skins up in there in a Smash Brothers game, that would be awesome. And he could have the laser watch, his PP7. Oh, his ultimate smash, his the final smash when he hits that smash ball, he could use the golden gun. One shot kill. Boom. That would be dope. But looks like I just got golden gunned by myself there. I got too excited. And you can have assist trophies like Odd Job. Pop in there, just punch the player in the nuts and run. Man, or he could throw his hat. Yeah. GoldenEye. James Bond would be perfect. It'd be weird, too. Just imagining Ian Fleming writing his novels, his James Bond novels, and just hoping one day for his characters to be included in a Smash Brothers game. The dream finally achieved. Anaki says 60 frames per second makes me vomit. I don't know. I love 30 frames per second. Only I'm scared of 60 frames per second and think I'm the only person in the world who thinks that way. I got something to tell you. Yes, you are. I don't know. You are the first person I've heard say that. I have heard people that defend 30 frames per second saying, it's not that bad. And for some games, it's absolutely not. It can be completely fine. It's when you start dealing with fast-paced games that it's less than ideal. A fighting game, you want it to be 60 frames per second. A first-person shooter, you want it to be 60 frames per second. Dems is just facts. But a slower-paced game, it can definitely be 30 frames. It's fine. Like The Last of Us was better in 60 frames per second, but it was perfectly playable at 30. That's fine. I've never heard that 60 frames per second makes somebody want to vomit, though, because it's smoother, it's more fluid, less choppy. Cool Man says, people this generation care more about graphics than gameplay. They do, but I would say people every generation have cared more about graphics than gameplay, at least on a surface level. And you can't, it's obviously not everybody. I care more about a game running well than I do about it having the most effects. You could put some amazing lighting effects and anti-aliasing and V-Sync and whatever else you want. Bloom lighting, God ray lighting, whatever it is. You can throw everything you want to make the game look pretty, but if it runs like shit because of it, then you've kind of lost the plot. At the end of the day, this was still supposed to be a video game, right? Let's see. People have cared about graphics are greater than gameplay than... Yeah, exactly. Since the PlayStation. Yeah. People have... it's always been a graphics war. I was looking at... I was on a message board the other day, and people posted up some old scans of a Nintendo Power magazine. And back in the day, Nintendo Power just got away with saying whatever the hell they wanted. They eventually reeled it in. The magazine wasn't as good anymore, but... there was a time when they just said whatever they wanted. They went full-on console warrior, and they were comparing they were comparing Castlevania 64 graphics versus the Castlevania on that was announced for PlayStation, which was Symphony of the Night. And they said, look at this Symphony of the Night, just boring 2D sprites. But on the N64, Castlevania is a fully 3D game. And if you know about Castlevania 64, you know it wasn't a good game at all. And Symphony of the Night is a highly heralded game. It's considered a classic. So, yeah, people have always cared about graphics wars. It's always been about having the best system. The Genesis looked amazing compared to the NES, right? Or the NES, whatever side of that battle you're on, whatever you want to call it. The Genesis looked better. So Nintendo had to step it up, and they came out with the Super Nintendo. And the Super Nintendo was able to do more visual effects than the Genesis in a lot of ways. So they were always playing it up. It wasn't until after the GameCube that Nintendo stopped putting a focus or an emphasis on the graphical abilities of their console, just because the hardware race got too expensive. Let's see here. Naki says maybe it is motion sickness. Yeah, maybe you just get motion sickness from games. I just never heard of 60 frames per second getting somebody sicker than 30 frames per second. Let's see here. NES versus NES is the most niche argument ever. Yeah. Honestly, some people really have a bug up their butt on how you pronounce the system's name. I guess you could just say Nintendo Entertainment System to make sure nobody's happy. But yeah, I don't know. It doesn't bother me. Say it however you want. However, I say that, but then when it comes to that whole GIF versus GIF argument, I'm way too opinionated about that. So I guess we're all hypocrites in our own way. So yeah, podcast launch today. It's been an interesting day. Spent hours. I was gonna say hours, but I've spent weeks and months just kind of preparing for today. And here we are, spending most of it just talking about whatever. That's fine. Oh, Rick asks. He did dare to ask. Oh, even reading the question, it's like I present my bias right away. So Rick says, GIF or GIF, Chris? Well, I will just answer this. I say GIF, just because I know the creator wants it to be called GIF, but I feel like GIF, G-I-F, is part of the word gift, and beyond that, I've already been trained that GIF is spelled J-I-F, thanks to a certain peanut butter. So I refuse to change. 31, I'm considered an old man in internet ages, so that's it. It's called GIF. Coolman says, did you know Xbox One people put a petition so Spider-Man could be on the Xbox One? No, I didn't know that, but I'm not surprised. Yeah, I don't think that's happening. Actually, I'm sure it's not happening, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the sequels won't be. I don't know. I'm pretty sure, and I talk about this in the podcast, actually. I'm pretty sure that Sony got Spider-Man as an exclusive on PlayStation 4 solely out of a deal that they made for the movies with Marvel. So Marvel's producing, they're essentially producing. Sony's funding, but Marvel's producing these Spider-Man movies, and the Spider-Man can now be in the Avengers movies, right? So I think that Sony was able to ink an exclusive game or two out of that deal. So I don't know if the next Spider-Man game will be a PlayStation 4 exclusive or if it'll even exist. But Sony funded that game. So we'll see. You're my hero, Chris. Web 1, 0 for life. Thank you. Thank you. Naki says, hey, Chris, when will we discuss about the first question? What was the first question? Oh, does God exist? Well, we did sort of touch on that, didn't we? But I guess we can jump right back into that can of worms. I guess it's hard to just like answer something like that definitively, but if you just know, I don't know. It's hard to say. For me, it's like, well, there is this just whole world and universe out there, and I guess on like a philosophical level, I have a hard time just putting that all to chance, just to say that that was just some weird accident that had me sitting right here at 2:31 Pacific Standard Time talking about graphics and console wars and GIF versus GIF. I don't know. It's just to make such an important moment like this, the result of chance is kind of hard for me to justify. So, yeah, I don't know, man. I think so. I think so. But I'd like to know your guys' thoughts and opinions on this. It's definitely not going to cause a fight or an argument. I'd like to know. Oh, Star Wars. It's getting a TV show called The Mandalorian. First image was released. It's got a character, looks kind of like a Boba Fett type of character. Rick says, I like the humility of that statement. Thanks, Rick. I am good at being humiliated. Appreciate that. Yeah. Got ourselves a GOD looking down on me. And Star Wars show. on Disney Play. That's the name of their new service, I believe. Disney Play. That's their answer to Netflix. And I read something. I think I read that there was going to be essentially no R-rated content, something like that. And it's perplexing because Disney just bought Fox, or they're in the process of acquiring Fox and all their properties. And Fox has a lot of R-rated properties. I'm kind of nervous about what Disney's going to do with them. Naki says, sorry, Chris, for the humiliation. I didn't mean to hurt you. Nah, dude, you didn't hurt me. I was just kidding. He said humility, so I played off of that. Let's see. Nix Hex says, I know Disney has all these plans and stuff, but they need to slow down. I agree. They definitely need to slow down. They are moving too fast, and they just kind of are milking the hell out of their franchises, especially Star Wars. It says, The Last Jedi pretty much ruined it for the casuals. Yeah, they, I don't know. I think, as soon as Disney announced that they were going to have Star Wars or own Star Wars and be producing a movie or releasing a movie every single year, I was immediately calling that out as a dicey plan because, first of all, immediately with that plan, you have the problem of oversaturation. Star Wars movies were special, and one of the reasons they were special was because you didn't have one every single year. In fact, they were rare. A Star Wars movie was rare. When George Lucas was feeling it, he would put one out every 3 years or so. Now we've got one coming out every single year. So yeah, there's going to be franchise fatigue, and as soon as you have one coming out every single year, you're in Saw territory. You're in the same territory as an Assassin's Creed game. It's like, well, you can enjoy it, but it gets to a point where you're like, well, do I really need to see all of these? Oh, like, I mean, a lot of people like Solo, but a lot of people weren't excited for Solo just because it wasn't an idea that immediately grabbed them. People wanted to see a story continue. And also there was the whole idea of not wanting to keep Han Solo's history a mystery. Coolman says, I heard the Venom movie sucked. Yeah, I've heard the same thing. Speaking of that movie, rated PG-13. That was a movie that was initially announced to be an R-rated movie. After the success of Deadpool, all of a sudden these studios were into the idea of an R-rated movie again. So Deadpool was a success. Deadpool 2 was already announced at that time, or about to be released. And Sony said, hey, we're making this Venom movie, and guess what? We're making it as an R-rated movie. Until a few weeks ago, actually maybe a week or so ago, it was announced, or trailers were still being shown for this movie, but they said there was a big red flag at the end of those trailers which said this film is not yet rated. Anytime you see that for a movie that was planned to be rated R, it's going to be rated PG-13. Remember, the same thing happened with Terminator Salvation. It was like until maybe a couple days before that movie came out that it was finally announced that it was PG-13. They always do that because they want to get the most money possible. Rick says, I was hoping the Venom movie to be rated R. I was too. In fact, Tom Hardy, the guy who plays Venom, said in an interview recently, the interviewer asked him, what's your favorite scene in the movie, or scenes in the movie? He said, all of my favorite scenes were cut from the movie. They were all cut from the movie. He said like 30 or 40 minutes of my favorite scenes were cut from the movie. So that's always a good sign when you hear the headlining star saying his favorite scenes were cut from the movie, right off the heels that the movie was cut down to a PG-13. So when you do that, like if the movie is created and written and directed and acted out as an R-rated movie, and then they all of a sudden want it to be a PG-13, unless they're doing massive reshoots, which I don't believe they did, they're going to be chopping that movie up, and it's going to be all on the backs of the editors and the CG people to fix it, to stitch that monster back together. So, yeah, I'm not surprised that movie's sitting at like 30% on Rotten Tomatoes right now. Vic says, I want to see the Venom movie this weekend. You know what? I talk all this crap and I might end up seeing it anyway. I got the AMC A-list pass, so I need to use it to make it worth it every month. And I might end up seeing the damn thing anyway. Kuma says, if they plan to make a Carnage film, it has to be rated R. Yeah, it does. I don't think that they'll make a Carnage movie. They might. But I feel like if Carnage is in a movie, it'll be a Venom sequel. But Venom has to do well. And you know, one way to make your movie, or one way to help your movie do well, is to make a good movie. So we'll see. We'll see. I was initially interested in the idea, but my excitement for the movie has gone down as time has progressed. Mark Hamill did the same thing with the Last Jedi, by the way. What did he do? Oh, he said that, he talked poorly about his movie. Actually, yeah, Mark Hamill was talking nothing but smack about the movie. It was kind of like every time he was interviewed about the Last Jedi. Mark Hamill, by the way, if you don't know, he plays Luke Skywalker. Every time he was interviewed about it, he would just kind of say, like, yeah, I don't know. Like, I had to always talk to Rian Johnson about, like, I don't think this is what Luke would do. You know, and I think I would know because I played him for so many years. I'm playing him right now. I just don't think this is the character. And, yeah. Eventually, I mean, he walked it back a little bit in a PR sense, but no, I just don't believe that he really resonated with that version of Luke Skywalker. I did like some of the stuff he did in The Last Jedi, but I agree, like, him being just kind of this hermit was weird. He said he didn't like what they did with his own character. Yeah, exactly. He's at that old person don't give a fuck age. Yeah. Yeah, he is. And the older you get, the less you care about what you say. And you can get in a lot of trouble when you're a public face like that, but who cares? Naki says, Chris, what motivates you to get up every morning? You're asking the real questions, man. What motivates me? I guess the impending threat of losing my home. That's probably a big motivator for me. Chris, how are you feeling about the Joaquin Phoenix Joker movie? Yeah, I do have some feelings about that. I want to see a trailer. I feel better about it than I feel about the Jared Leto Joker movie. I don't know why Warner Brothers is making multiple Joker movies in different universes at the same time. I don't understand that. I think that's stupid. But the Joaquin Phoenix movie looks interesting. Looks like they're trying to channel the Dark Knight a little bit. They're trying to channel, what's his name? He's dead. Heath Ledger. Looks like they're trying to channel the Heath Ledger Joker a little bit. But they're also going for this old school clown, the old school circus clown. Kind of thing you might see in an old barbershop painting. I don't know. It's being produced by what's his name? Scorsese. Martin Scorsese's producing the movie. He wanted Leonardo DiCaprio in it. I think I'd like the idea of Joaquin Phoenix better for that role, though. And it's being directed by Todd Phillips, I think, the guy who directed the Hangover movies. So, who knows? Maybe he's feeling a little bit more like Hangover 1 than 2 or 3. Or maybe he's feeling like making a Joker movie. We'll see. Rick says, oh, yeah, I just read what Rick says. Nick says it's to confuse parents of little children. Yeah, it's going to confuse a lot of people. Hey, have you seen that Joker movie? Yeah, it sucked. No, the good one. It's such a confusing thing. I know the Jared Leto movie probably won't come out for at least a year after the Joaquin Phoenix one. Maybe 2. But it's just a weird way to go. Warner Brothers just has no idea what they're doing right now. Rick says John Hamm, I think is his name, should play Thomas Wayne if he comes out in that Joker movie. Actually, John Hamm is trying to play. He would love to play. He actually was quoted on this recently. He said he would love to play Batman. I think he could play a good Wayne. I just don't know how I see him as Batman. I think he could definitely play as the Bruce Wayne type of character. But Batman just throws me off. And you know what's weird? Like, I watched most of Mad Men. I haven't finished it, but I've watched most of Mad Men. And he's great in that show. But he's done so much more comedy and weird stuff after Mad Men that I don't even associate him directly with Mad Men first anymore. I associate him more with his comedy stuff. So, like, I actually associate John Hamm as a funny guy rather than a Batman. Coolman says, who do you think can play Carnage? I don't know. Somebody with a good voice, I guess. Because that's pretty much what he'd be, right? He would be CG all the way. It's kind of like, what's his face? He played, I'm doing good with names here. Deadpool 2. He was the bad guy in last Avengers movie. Jesus. I could figure this out. But I've got 500,000 viewers right now that could also figure this out for me. Or not. You know, whatever. Oh, did I mention I have a podcast? We could talk about Carnage in the next podcast, actually. But I don't know. Who do you guys think should play Carnage? I think it would be dependent solely on the voice for the most part. They can get anybody to play the actual character. Let's see here. Goonies' older brother. Jim Carrey can play Carnage? Yeah, why not? He's playing Dr. Robotnik. Have you seen it? Have you guys seen Jim Carrey as Dr. Robotnik? He looks nothing like Dr. Robotnik. He's just got this big Santa Claus beard. That's about it. So they're making a Sonic the Hedgehog movie, live action Sonic the Hedgehog movie, and he's got a cop buddy, real world human cop buddy, who the movie will probably really be about, because they always tend to focus on the human character and not the actual character the game is based on. And Jim Carrey is Dr. Robotnik. Thanos in Deadpool. Thanos, yes. Thanos is in Deadpool. Is it Thanos? Who am I thinking? Thanos is the... Hold on a tick. You're going to make me do it. You're going to make me look this up. Thanos. Yes, Thanos is in Deadpool. Yes, he is. He is Josh Brolin. He plays what's his face? Jeez, my gosh. Killing it here. Really killing it. Here he is. Deadpool 2. Pulling it up. He's the guy in Marvel vs. Capcom 2. What the hell is his name? Cable. You guys have probably already said it in the chat. No, you haven't. Yes, he played Cable in Deadpool 2. Yeah. Let's see here. See above. All right, so what am I seeing above here? The Goonies' older brother. Yep. Oh, there it is. Yeah. Yes. You gave me the answer a long time ago. But I needed a name. Josh Brolin. The Goonies' older brother. Right? You got me on a IMDb kick here. You ever go on imdb.com and just get lost? You can get, back in the late 90s and early 2000s, I would be on here all the time. Yep, look at that. The Goonies was Josh Brolin's first movie. Just goes to show you, if you star in a classic movie as your first project, you can go on to be a big rich star someday. Naki asks, does anyone know about the rumor of a new Batman game called Batman Arkham Universe made by Rocksteady? Hadn't heard that. I've heard that the new game they're working on is going to be a games as a service type of game, which I was not excited about. I love those Batman Arkham games, but I don't like the idea of turning it into some online-only games as a service kind of game like Destiny. That doesn't appeal to me. TV tropes is the ultimate rabbit hole. Might be worse than IMDb. Well, hold on a sec there. You're about to turn me on to... Actually, I've heard of TV tropes, but have I actually spent time at TV tropes? You're gonna kill the productivity of my life, which was already hanging by a thread, by the way. Yeah, okay. I have a tab open, ready to just sponge it up for later. Thank you. Let's see here. Rick says, I heard Superman was their new game. I heard the same thing. Actually, for a while, it was rumored that they were going to be making a Thomas Wayne game, or Damian Wayne. Not Thomas. Thomas was his dad. Damian Wayne is Batman's son. And for a while, I guess they were working on a Damian Wayne game, which I don't think anybody was really excited about that idea. But supposedly had a lot of problems and ended up getting canceled. So I've also heard Superman. I've also heard maybe just some kind of full-on Justice League type of game. I guess we'll see. Coolman makes an awesome suggestion here. He said they need to make a Batman Beyond Arkham game. Man, a good 3D Batman game in the vein of Batman Arkham City or something. I'd be right there. I'd be right there for that. Batman Beyond was amazing. Actually, when Batman Beyond was at its peak on TV, when it was at its height of success, there were rumors for years about a Batman Beyond movie that was in production, and it just went through development hell and just never got produced. But why are they just sitting on that franchise? It is ripe for potential to tap. You can make some money off of that, and you could create an amazing looking universe off of that. I think that would be great. They should do it. Nick says, I'm absolutely shocked you haven't seen that site. It's sensory overload. Talking about TV tropes. I feel like I've probably hit a page or two. Like somebody might have linked like just like a specific page on it before, but I've never explored it. So yeah, you have probably killed my productivity for the rest of the day. We will see if I'm smart enough to not go down that rabbit hole, but I probably will. Coolman says Batman Beyond: Return of the Joker was pretty dark. Yes, man. Yes, it was. You're hitting up my my likings today. That the Return of the Joker was the first real Batman Beyond movie. Actually, I think it's the only Batman Beyond movie. But it was good, and it was dark, like he said. It was, I think it was rated PG, or maybe it was PG-13. I don't know. I have the regular version that came out first, and I have the uncut version, which is a little bit more violent. They also changed a few things, like I don't want to spoil any of the movie if you haven't seen it, but it was good, and it was dark. They could make a live action version of that, but it kind of relied on you to be a fan of the original Batman the Animated Series show, which was a great show, but it also, I don't know, it was good. That's all I could say. Without spoiling the movie for you, and there is like twists and turns to that movie. All I can say is it's good. So you should definitely see it. Coolman says they censored it because of the Columbine massacre. That's right, because I think the movie came out in '99, and that was the same year as Columbine. But they also did make a few other changes. Like there's one particular scene at the end that stands out to me. That it's a completely insignificant change. They changed the color of an important character's shirt, but it makes sense. I'll just say they changed Harley's shirt from blue to red so that you knew it was Harley. But yeah, the Columbine massacre. That's right. Man, that was just a thing at the time. Now nobody blinks an eye. It's like, oh yeah, school massacre. I remember when that was new in '99. Pretty crazy how many school shootings we got going on. South Park just covered school shootings a couple weeks ago. Jeez. South Park wants to get canceled, I think, and it's the reason I think South Park might want to get canceled is because at the end of every episode this season so far, they have a little hashtag in the background of the credits that says hashtag cancel South Park. So I think they're trying to hit up a lot of very hard topics, including school shootings and some shenanigans in the Catholic Church. Cancel South Park, yep. Yeah. Did I mention I have a podcast? I don't know if I've plugged that enough today. Let me, in fact, let me just do something here. I'm just going to show you how to go to a podcast. We shall see. So check it. since I got your undying attention at the moment, we're talking all things podcasts, God, 007, all the good stuff. Let me just Rick says, "Oh yes, a tutorial live stream." Yes, this is going to be an educational live stream as well. So, whoops. What you're going to want to do here is first go to your... Oh, crap. Okay, hold on. I thought I turned my computer off. Okay, we'll get to this. I got a question here. Chris, is Pokemon Digimon? And if so, how Digimon is it? Fairly Digimon. Pokemon is at least half a Digimon. It's got the Mon going. Man, Digimon. I had some thoughts about Digimon back in the day. You guys know Digimon? I know you know Pokemon, because Pokemon's still a thing. Digimon is still a thing to some people, somewhere. Like the guy who said wrestling was still real to me, damn it. Digimon is still real to some people. I know they're still making some Digimon games and all that, but man, I was not a fan of that show. Just the production value of Digimon was, I think the budget was about $10 per episode. Because that show did was I would say at least 50%, maybe I'm probably exaggerating, but I don't want to say 50%, maybe 100% of the content on that show was recycled from previous episodes. They would just reuse the same stuff. Kind of like when the Power Rangers would use go to Morphin Time, or they would get in their big mechs, their Zords. They would just reuse the same footage. They did the same thing with Digimon. Not even Ty. Ty was one of the main characters in Digimon. I just didn't mess with Digimon. My brother was a big fan of Digimon. I just wasn't. I wasn't. But I also had a bit of that fanboying going on, you know. I was part of the Digi Wars, the Mon Wars, where, you know, I say Pokemon is better than Digimon. Digimon is just a ripoff. You know, Pokemon, you went to a movie and you got that exclusive Mew card, and that was great. But then Digimon just tried to rip them off, and you went to a Digimon movie and you got a Digimon card. Difference was, you know, I was a biased kid, but the difference was that nobody cared about Digimon cards. Ain't nobody going online saying, I've got this Digimon card worth $2,000. No, I don't know. Maybe Digimon was a better show in Japan. Maybe the footage wasn't 90% recycled material. I've heard it was more violent and probably more sex jokes fly. Because in America, a show like Digimon is aimed at kids, and when we aim shows at kids, they're more prime for criticism. Digimon, the card game, was garbage, and the cards were ugly. Yeah, they were ugly. There's very, very little good to remember, I think, about Digimon. But there's some people out there that right now, I mean, we got 500,000 people watching this stream right now, and some of them are screaming at me. Say, no, Digimon was the best. Man, even the voice acting was bad in that show. I'm kind of apprehensive now about, like, I want to just pull up some crappy footage of Digimon just to show you what I mean. But I'm a little bit apprehensive about it since last time I showed some footage of something, got banned from streaming for 3 months. This is a good point, though. This is something I did like about Digimon. Nix Hex said, the Digipets were incredible, though. That was my first and only real, experience enjoying Digimon. That was, some of y'all might not know, but back in the day, we had this thing called a Tamagotchi. Huge craze that just blew up in the 90s. All of a sudden, every child and some adults would be carrying around this little egg or round piece of plastic that had a little LCD, black and white LCD screen, kind of like what the Dreamcast memory card looked like. But you'd just be carrying it around, and you'd have chores and responsibilities for a little digital pet. And Digimon was in on this craze. They had, and there was something cool about it, right? So you would feed your Digimon, you would train your Digimon. There's only like 2 buttons and like maybe 3 things to do. They're very basic, and it's just a way to keep a kid busy, essentially. But the cool thing was, like Pokemon, you could connect your little Digipet together and battle each other. And the battles were just you guys shooting fireballs at each other's screen. And that was that. But then the digital pet craze died, and so did our Digimon. Coolman says, I remember Taco Bell kids meals had Digimon cards. Man, who knew that Taco Bell was just giving kids these cards of incredible value down the line? I think Pokemon cards were included in some kind of kids meals for some places as well, but they were never like the legit Pokemon cards. They were just like some special Pokemon card that just took artwork directly from the show's promo work, and they just said, oh, this is Pidgey, and they would just show a Pokedex entry on Pidgey. No value. You can't battle with the cards. It was just whatever. Rick says, my parents kept me busy with books, shaking my head. Yeah, I'm sorry your parents did that to you, man. You could have been immersed in the world of Digimon and subpar Pokemon cards via kids' meals. Next it says, garbage toys with garbage food. Yep. Coolman says, look it up. The cards were not paper. What do you mean? The cards were not paper. What were they made of? Cardboard, which is, I guess, a form of paper. Metal? Were these cards made of metal? In which case, take back everything I said. Amazing product. Man, but when the Pokemon, what was it? I think the second Pokemon movie? What was it called? It had Lugia, as they used to call it. He said the cards were made out of metal. From Taco Bell? Wow. Economy's a bitch, huh? Nowadays, you wouldn't get a metal card. I'm surprised they had metal in any of their toys, to be honest. I don't know. I guess it's probably the cost of pressing together a few things of aluminum foil. I'm sure they're probably aluminum cards. I don't know. But yeah, when the second Pokemon movie came out, Pokemon was still doing still in its heyday. And they had a promo where if you saw the movie, you got this, what was it called? Like this mythical Mew card, but it was the Pokemon Mew, Pokemon 151, and it looked so badass. I was so excited for it. The hologram, when I got that card, is in a little piece of plastic. I was just cherishing it, just trying to make sure that I kept it safe from being bent or scratched. I still got that sucker somewhere. Think it's worth anything? Only me and millions of other children had it. Let's see. All right, so let's do our quick tutorial here on how to make me popular. Coolman says Pokemon was so popular back then. Yeah, it was a great time to be alive if you liked Pokemon, and if you didn't, God help you. You were just surrounded by it. I remember just you go to Target or Walmart, napkins, probably paper towels, paper plates, whatever. Just Pikachu everywhere, Charizard everywhere. It's a great time. You saw the card. Nick says, seen it at Frankenson's for not a lot of money. Oh my gosh, is that place still around? That's the place we used to go to. Oh my gosh. Oh. I saw that dude years back. He wrote to the newspaper. This is a card store I used to go to buy Pokemon cards and sometimes play at tournaments. Man, really brings me back. Wow. It says trade show in SoCal for those lucky enough not to live near the city of industry. Oh, okay, so it's a trade show. I'm thinking of that store we used to go to. Coolman says some Christians say. Hold on a sec. Nick says it's still there, dude. I go a few times a year to our store. Cool, man. Cool. Awesome. I should check that out. See if he remembers me. Coolman says, some Christians say Pokemon is the work of the devil. That was a popular sentiment. I don't want to say popular, but it was a sentiment you would see every now and then. Because Pokemon was huge, right? Anything that gets huge, there's going to be advocacy groups against it. And Pokemon was no exception. I remember reading articles. There was like websites dedicated against it too. One was complaining about how in the original Pokemon show intro, there's a shot where a girl's pushing down her dress that's being blown up. Just just trying to link it to Pokemon being satanic. And of course they had some ammo, right? Like with Jinx being, the Jinx Pokemon, she was all about voodoo, or she was based off of a voodoo characters and mythology, I'm sure. But also she had a bit of a image problem as well. That's why they've changed the look of Jinx over the years. You guys following me here? You guys following me on all this Pokemon and Digimon talk? Let's see here. Racist Jinx. Yep, that's why Jinx is purple now. Yeah, Japan for a long time had a interesting way of portraying some characters. Let's see here. I'm trying to show you how to subscribe to a podcast, but apparently I have a hard time showing you anything here. Hold on a tick. I think I figured it out. Boom. Okay. This is a website. I call it UPNLOADED.com. Hold on a sec. That shouldn't be. There we go. UPNLOADED.com. Naki says, I was listening to your podcast and you did your Spider-Man review. Oh, thanks for listening. All right. Got ourselves a listener. Yeah, that's right. On the podcast, I review Spider-Man for PlayStation 4. Exclusive review. First Spider-Man review you can get on the internet. Okay, check that out. Thanks, Naki. So Naki already figured it out on his own. But for the rest of us looking to figure out how to listen to a podcast, or at least on day one before it goes out to iTunes and Google Play and whatever other podcast service I can get it onto, this is how you do it. Oh, and Coolman says, I remember the Kadabra episode. That was an infamous episode. But before I get off track, let's talk podcast here. So you go to uploaded.com. See this link right here, this area? That is something you want to click on or tap on if you have a finger and a phone or tablet. You click on that. You can or cannot read these words. See this logo? I spent a lot of time on that. Maybe you want to appreciate it or don't. And here it is. Easy. It's a link. And you can download it too. Wow. So if you want, it'd be nice. Appreciate any feedback. Oh, we already got a comment. We got a comment from Ken. Best Chris-centered podcast I've listened to. Thank you, Ken. Thank you. And down the line, we might have a co-host too. I don't know if it's called Chris to Chris. I don't know if a co-host needs to be named Chris. That would be tough. Tough for me to just find a Chris that I click with. But in the meantime, before we get that co-host going on, we'll bring other people into the mix via interviews and whatnot. Rick asks, how often will you be doing podcasts? Great question. Once per week. One every single week until I die. And that is a center theme in the first episode. Do not want to die. But if I don't want to do podcasts anymore, I might have to die. But I want to do them. So I want to do them for as long as I can, at least once per week. If it gets to a point where I'm able to do something like this full time, I might do more than one per week. And if I can, I might do a bonus episode here and there. But yeah, for the meantime, once per week. It's going to be a good time. I'm looking forward to it, and I hope you do too. So if you guys subscribe via iTunes or Google Play or whatever, you can just get it to your phone every week. I'm thinking of doing them releasing them on Fridays like today. So I'm thinking about releasing them every Friday. What do you guys think of that? I think Friday's a good day. You can listen to it on your way to work or school, or the way back from work or school, at the gym. Rick says, I like that logo. It's interesting how you made the 2 C's and a T, or is it an X? That's a great question on that T or X. it's it's this infinity logo essentially. It's an infinity, but it's the C's, and it's like Chris to Chris, so it's Chris times Chris, Chris cross Chris, or it could be a T. Whatever gets you appreciating it more. That's what I meant. Rick says I could do Fridays. All right, it's 1 vote for Fridays, 2 votes for Fridays. Friday is great. You'll make slow Fridays a little more entertaining. All right, hooray to slow Fridays, making them a little bit more entertaining. I hope so. Now let me be clear here. This is a project that is going to evolve and get better over time. That said, Mama didn't raise no fool. I didn't just put out a half-assed piece of work, okay? I did put some work into this first episode. That said, I'm aware of some things that need to be changed. I meander a bit. I ramble a bit. I might over-explain a few things here and there. Just understand that I know that. And you can comment on that just to hammer it in. Say, hey, yo, bro, you really didn't need to explain to me what twins and triplets are. I might do that in this episode. So I understand, but it's going to be something that's constantly getting better. But that said, I feel like I put out a decent product first episode. Rick says, yeah, that's what I find interesting. Great design. Thank you, Rick. Thank you. I spent an unhealthy amount of time trying to create a good logo. And that's what I came up with. So who knows? It'll evolve over time. But that's what we got for now. Appreciate that. Appreciate y'all. It's been a hell of a few weeks, gotta say. But this has been needed. And you guys have been great so far. I've really enjoyed our conversations. And if there's anything you want to ask or contribute to the podcast or the show, please do. Please do. There's a very good chance that I will end up reading. Actually, Nick Six, I did read your question, and we go into depth on it. So, yeah, you want to check that out. Yeah, there's a very good chance I will read your question or comment on air. So no pressure at all. There's just going to be billions of people listening to what you wrote. Can I drop the link into the chat? Yeah, I hope so. Let me try. I don't know. I've never tried to send a URL to the chat. Let's see if YouTube red flags this and bans me. I don't know. There's a link. You can click it. Hope it works out. I'm almost out of my my drink here that I've been drinking. Arrowhead sparkling water, spring water. It's they call it pomegranate lemonade. Nothing could be further from the truth. It's more like, I was gonna say watered down pomegranate lemonade, but it's not. That would be an insult to watered down pomegranate lemonade. The sparkle is gone, by the way. The sparkle and the sparkling water is gone. It's just flat. Like, oh yeah, I think this might have. Oh, you know what it could taste like? Say you just had a crate full of lemons and pomegranates. Maybe not even a full of. Let's say like with 2 lemons and a pomegranate, and you just filled it with water and dumped some of that water into a can. Boom, $4 for 8. Is that what you guys came for? To talk about Arrowhead cans and Digimon? Let's see here. Rick says, I've been sick for about 2 weeks straight. I've only been drinking water. I think I forgot how juice tastes. You know what, though? Sick is a great diet. You can lose a lot of weight on sick. Not to say that you need to lose weight. I don't know. But, yeah. For a long time, all I drank was just straight water. That was it. But times have changed, and now I drink pomegranate lemonade flavored water. Is this about the time where you start to realize, okay, I think dude's run out of steam. I think we're not talking about anything anymore. He's plugged the hell out of his stuff, and he's talking about this empty can of water in an unhealthy amount of time. Rick says, I'm on the healthy side of weight per height and age. Good. That's good for you, man. In that case, enjoy your juice. I bought some juice yesterday. This is about the time when the numbers start to drop off. Okay, dude's talking about the juice he's buying. Yeah, but I bought some juice. I got nothing to add beyond that. I bought some juice and some of this. Naki says, I have a lot of questions. Naki, you've been asking some hard-hitting questions. You said you're going to save them for the next stream. All right, that's cool. That's cool. And you can ask questions, too, on the podcast or at the Facebook page or the Twitter page. But, yeah, if you want me to actually see them for the podcast, that link I just dropped there, it's for episode 1. Perfect place to ask a question or leave a comment. Do appreciate it. Look at that. Talked about water too much. Lost a viewer. Let us remember with fondness our viewer. Thank you. So, guys, I appreciate it. I'm not going to pester you anymore with this. You can listen or you can't listen. Well, you can, I'm sure. If somebody's putting a gun to your face or your head or your back or any part of your body, honestly, it's scary to have a gun pointed at you. Saying, do not listen, I understand. Please try to figure out some Morse code blinks to let us know you're not okay. Other than that, though, I would appreciate if you check it out. And if you like it, subscribe. I know it's kind of hard to subscribe right now, but I'll do another stream just to hammer it home that, hey, guys, it's on iTunes now. It's on Google Play. It's on whatever other service I can get it on. Let's see here. Who probably doesn't drink water? I know somebody doesn't drink water. Oh, the guy who left the stream. Yeah, he probably didn't drink water. He's probably like, screw this. Juice or nothing. Soda or nothing. Yeah. Gasoline or nothing. There's a drug called crocodile. It's spelled with a K and a Y. So I think it started in Russia. But I don't think it's a drink. I don't know why I thought of that. It's a bad drug, though. I do not recommend taking crocodile. It causes necrosis. It means parts of your body will start to die, literally die, and fall off. Yeah, I got you, Rick. I got you. I'm a little slow sometimes. Could be a little slow. But, guys, yeah, I'm not gonna pester you too much. I'm not gonna say please, oh please, please listen to my podcast. I'm not gonna do that. I'm not going to beg you to listen, but please do. You guys have absolutely been awesome. Been a good pick me up today, and I hope it's been reciprocal. I hope you've enjoyed your time with me as well. So we'll do this again. Let's make a date for it. Next time I'm aware, as long as it's not today, or maybe even, I don't know. Next time I'm aware of the show being available on iTunes and Google Play, and it's already been submitted for the approval of the Midnight Society. Next time it's on there, we'll do another stream, just so we can make it loud and proud and clear for the world to see. Rick says, "Oh yeah, I heard it, man." Or hold on a sec. Rick says, "Oh yeah, I heard it made a man chew another man's ear off." Crocodile. He's talking about the drug. I'm not that slow. Just a little bit. Yeah, I wouldn't mess with crocodile. If anybody ever offers you crocodile, first of all, you're hanging out with the wrong people. If you've been offered crocodile, you've probably already done a lot of things you regret. But yeah, I don't recommend it. Naki says, "I will listen to your podcast if you hug me." I can give you one of these asterisk hugs. That's the easiest way I can do that. He says, "I'm his hero." Wow. It's a lot of pressure. But I hope to be the hero that everybody can one day be disappointed in. Chris, do you think true stories and reboots will go out of style in the next decade? No. No, I don't. No, I don't. I hear they just remade A Star is Born. Actually came out today. Doing a lot better than Venom, by the way, on as far as what people thought of it. But yeah, That I think is the 4th or 5th remake of A Star Is Born. They're just gonna keep doing it. Just gonna keep doing it. And we say true stories. I'm trying to think of what movies are recent that have been true stories. Last one that pops to my mind was Changeling from Clint Eastwood. And that wasn't that recent. I was in college when that came out, but in the beginning it said this is a true story. And it's a horrifying movie starring Angelina Jolie about her son being essentially kidnapped. It's a sad, scary movie. But I don't know. I don't think they're going anywhere. I think, if anything, I mean, when it comes to like writing a movie or a story, a lot of times the professional writers, like they like to boil down stories. Like say, well, there's the hero's tale. That's a certain pattern of a story that's been retold countless amount of times in movies, from the black and white age all the way up to now in the Marvel movies and whatever other movies. So I think the same story essentially will be retold often under the same name. Who knows? I think they will. I think that they're just going to keep milking recognizable names as much as possible. But that said, I mean, there's always room to do something else, and they do. That's the thing. Like with the rise of Netflix and mostly Netflix. We'll give the credit to Netflix, but with the rise of something like Netflix, people go to the movies less, and that's why you have things like the AMC Movie Pass, where they're trying to get people into the theaters more often. But and it's working. The AMC Movie Pass is working, but within the last few years, you might have noticed that the movie business has been dying. It's been, or at least shrinking. And so the only movies that, for the most part, like the movies that get the most plays, the most screen time at the movie theater are the big movies that are expected to make a lot of money. And so smaller movies with more original stories are not getting the same attention, but they're still being made. They're just hitting places like Netflix first. They're pretty much straight-to-video movies. And it used to be where a straight-to-video movie, like if a movie was straight-to-video, there was a pretty good chance it was not a good movie, or not as good as it could have been. The budget's probably lower and whatever. But now that we have this, now that we kind of expect movies, or we want movies to be available right away at home, that changes things. Now all of a sudden we have these mid-budget movies and sometimes big-budget movies, and often these smaller movies that have more original stories being told, and they're hitting streaming services first. I think that's kind of cool. But yeah, I understand as a filmmaker, you would like your movie to be able to hit screens, big screens. That's a dream. But things are changing. Things are changing. Rick says, I go to the movies less often now. I hadn't realized. Yeah, most people do. And before I had this movie pass, where I feel like I have to go to the movies now to get my money's worth. Before I had that, I myself was going to the movies less. And that's often because a lot of the movies I wanted to see, I thought, well, I will see that when it comes to Netflix or Hulu or whatever. I'll see it when it's available at home because I'll pay less for it. And it's not a movie I really feel like I need to go out to the theater for. The big movies that are good, I will still definitely go out to the theater for. But now that I have this movie pass, if I see something that looks interesting, and I got time to kill, yeah, I'm going to use it, and I'll see it at the movie theater. Why not? But I don't know. It's going to be on these movie theaters to bring people back. The AMC's. What is it called? Stubbs A-List. That's what it's really called. You can go to 3 movies a week, every week, and you can see multiple movies on the same day. It was like Movie Pass, which still exists, but I think better. However, it costs twice as much. The good thing about the AMC version was that you can see movies in Dolby Digital, 3D, IMAX, whatever, and it's still $20 a month. Rick asks, have you heard of Hugh Jackman's new movie, The Front Runner? It sounds familiar, but I couldn't tell you what it's about just by the name. Let's look it up. Let's look it up real quick. Oh, and I'm going to have to get going soon. My stomach's telling me, hey, buddy, you know what you need to do is feed your body. The Front Runner. Let me search. I was going to search Logan, Hugh Jackman. I just saw The Greatest Showman, which is a story about P.T. Barnum, played by Hugh Jackman. A lot of historical inaccuracies in that movie, I gotta say. I don't think at one point in his life did P.T. Barnum break out into song. It's a musical. You know, I went to the movie La La Land. Speaking of going to a movie in theaters, I went to the movie in La La Land when it came out in theaters, and I went into it having no idea beforehand that it was a musical. So I'm sitting down, the movie opens, and all of a sudden it opens in a traffic jam in LA, because LA is just one big traffic jam. It opens to a traffic jam in LA, just people in their cars, and all of a sudden they start singing. And I'm thrown off. I'm like, at first I thought maybe they're singing along to like the music in their car or whatever, but then multiple people start singing and they get out of the car. And I start looking around, and then I look at my wife, like, looking at her like, did you know this was a musical? She knew. I didn't know. I had no idea. Rick hates musicals, personally. I don't take it personal. I don't know. Musicals can be alright to me. I like some of them. Just depends. They could be fun, but some of them can just go on way too long. Like I don't need to see a 3-hour musical. Jeez, unless it's like maybe a play. But even still, I don't want to see a 3-hour play either. Let's keep it to 2 or less, folks. At least if you're singing. I've never been big on super long movies in general, though. Like the Lord of the Ring movies. The Ring? Lord of the Ring. Lord of the Rings? Jeez, what is it? Lord of the Ring. Like those movies in that franchise by Peter Jackson. I've seen them all one time. One time. That's it. By the end of Return of the King, that was the 3rd one, I was done. Because that movie is notorious for having like 3 or 4 endings. Like you think the movie's over, but it's not. Multiple times I was like this, and then I'd sit back down. Just, oh, okay, I guess this is still going. The reason I remember this so clearly is because I really had to use the restroom. I had to pee. I had to go. But I also don't like wasting my money. I don't like going to a movie and missing part of it because I was in the bathroom. So I will suffer most of the time. But I try not to make that happen. So, yeah, I saw that movie one time, and I was done. But Lord of the Rings is not a musical. I think they do sing, but I don't think it was a musical. Pretty sure that's not what's remembered about it. But wow, and you'll see this in the podcast if you listen to episode 1, but I've done a wonderful job at having multiple goodbyes. Wonderful job. I just don't know when to end. So you might notice in the end of episode 1, there you go. Still going, huh? But don't worry. I'm aware. Adult diapers can save you from that situation. Wow. Yeah. Never thought of bringing a diaper to the movie theater. Because if there's nothing I enjoy more than holding it in during a 2.5-hour movie, or 3.5-hour movie in the case of The Lord of the Rings, if there's nothing I enjoy more than holding it in, it's peeing on myself during the movie. Man, you can cut that out of context. Just throw it in some clip against me a few years from now. Don't do that, please. Maybe I should just delete the stream right now. Maybe that's what I'll do. Maybe that's the kind of empty threats you can look forward to in my podcast. Won't other people catch the whiff? Yeah, the idea is super appealing. There was a time, it was like last year, I think. Last year, I think it was the CEO, somebody at the top that worked for AMC, was saying, you know what, we got to start letting millennials use their phones during the movie theaters. We got to stop putting those little bumpers in the beginning of the movie. He said, you tell a millennial that they can't use their phone, it's like cutting off their hand or their arm. And there was a huge backlash, and people responded in fury, rightfully so, saying, I'm not going to go to AMC if that's how you're going to be. Why would I want to go to the movie to be bothered? And they backtracked on that real quick. They said, oh, okay, we're not going to do that. We were just kidding. They said, we have no plans to do that at this time. Meaning, we reserve the right to do it later. At whatever last-ditch attempt they can to save the movie business. However, I think this Movie Pass thing is working out pretty good for them. They have a lot of subscribers. There's a lot more people, like when I go to the movies, there's a lot more people at a showtime, like a AM or mid-afternoon showtime on a weekday. There's more people than you would ever expect. I think it's because of this pass. Naki says, washroom breaks are more necessary for me than the movie because I can buy the movie later. Yeah, your priorities are probably in order. Me, on the other hand, I spent money. And my bladder will suffer because I made the choice of spending money on a movie. But, yeah. All right, folks. He said a pair of undies are cheap. Yeah, you can always replace, I guess. I don't know. I guess I just don't like the idea of walking out of or sitting in my own filth during a movie. I don't like that. I don't know. Call me crazy. I just don't. The idea just never appealed to me. I guess it just never. The idea never struck me. Never thought that was a solution. Honestly, I thought like, well, I think you just stick a bathroom in the back of the movie theater in each theater, and then you could at the very least hear the audio of it. You don't want to have people being able to watch the movie in the bathroom because some people are just gonna go into that bathroom and just park there the entire time. You won't be able to use the bathroom. I don't know. These are the kind of questions that need answers, folks. Anyway, I've digressed long enough. It's time for me to eat. Thank you guys for watching. We've gone on for a minute, haven't we? Wow. Hour 41? It's a couple minutes. Guys, if you haven't noticed, I have a podcast, and I'd like you to watch it or listen to it. Watching it would be boring. There's not really much to watch. I might upload it to YouTube, too, just to have as many people to listen to as possible. Rick says, I really like your sense of humor, Chris. I always enjoy your streams. Thank you, Rick. Thank you for saying that. I appreciate that. I do appreciate that. And I want to do more. So, yeah, next time, well, let's do this again shortly. I hope it's shortly. It'll be as shortly as me knowing that it's available on iTunes and Google Play and wherever else. So I want to get it into as many ears as possible. Thanks, Naki. Yeah, so I want you guys here. I want to just keep this tight-knit and very educational. Thanks. Yeah, let's do this again. Let's do this again shortly. I'm gonna, like I said, this is gonna be every week thing, or at least the podcast is. So there'll be another episode next Friday. Let's do it. Let's plan for next Friday. And there's a theme to the next episode. We'll see how that goes. I'm rambling here, mumbling, starting to be less coherent, not making as much sense. Very good at doing that when I don't know how to end something. It's really hard. Goodbyes are always so hard. So, I guess it's goodbye. I hope to do this again soon. Like I said, don't know what I'm doing. Don't know how to end this. Thanks, guys. You've been awesome. Love talking to you. Let's do it again.